A Jedi writer is somebody who knows their tools, they practiced using them, they're dedicated to using the tools, and they know all the characteristics, the properties of their tools. So, in other words, they know the basic force, as it were, the basic principles of their tools. In other words, the basic principles of writing. So I'm going to start with the perceptual process of reading. What do people see when they read? And this influences how you write. This is the image that I suggest people keep in their minds when they're thinking about their readers. That you have your reader in a warm embrace, that your reader feels comfortable, that you care about the reader, that you're going to lead them through the text smoothly, effectively, and enjoy it. You never let go of their hand. This is a very poor piece of writing. That refers back to interrupting. This is what I mean by leading your reader through the text. If you use this, that, these, or those without explaining what you're talking about, your reader has to go back and figure out what it is you're talking about. I let go of their hand. So that's what I mean by not letting go of your reader's hand. I'm going to talk about writing for the reading eye, the perceptual process of reading. And the most popular model is called the parallel recognition reading model. That says you don't read words a letter at a time. You read whole words, whole phrases at a time. This is really fascinating. When you learn a word, which you know is thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, you don't see them as words anymore. You see them as pictures. You are reading pictures. And this is an example. Can you read that easily? Mm-hmm. I wonder why. Because you see the word as a holistic picture, which you can decipher just almost instantaneously. And this is an example of what your eye does when it reads. The dot, this is an eye tracking video, the dot shows where the eye is focused when it's reading. It's making these saccades, these jumps. And the size of the dot shows, as it grows, shows how long the eye stays on a given word. Now there's a pattern here. There's a really critically important pattern here. I don't expect you to recognize it because reading experts, reading scientists have to go through tons and tons of trials to recognize that. Your eye tends to land on visual landmark letters. When it bounces, it tends to look for the visual landmark letters to land on. If you were to analyze that video I showed you before, it tends to pause on planar words. It has to spend more time. So what that means in terms of reading is when I'm writing a sentence, I don't just look at the meaning of the sentence or the length of the word, the sentence, or anything like that. I also look at the shape of the sentence. I think about the reading eye. How easy will it be for the reading eye to decipher that sentence? So I will take a sentence that's too planar, and I'll go back and look for synonyms that have visual landmarks. It's also why I indent more than my English teacher in high school would have liked, because indentations are visual landmarks for the reading eye. I also use a lot of subheads, so you have to think about the reading eye. And it's also why active voice is so effective. See, these passive verbs are less readable, they're plainer. Active voice is more engaging because you have an actor. A is doing something to be, and C is doing something to be. It's also more dynamic because it leads you through the text without letting go of your hand. A does something to be, in the next sentence C does something to be, and then E does something to F, and so forth. So active voice. I advocate using thrifty words rather than expensive words. If you look at all these words on the left, these are words that science love to use. So it's really hard to get out of the habit of not using thrifty words. But they put a lower cognitive load on your readers. Now, I suspect you'll probably find it difficult to use any of these words in scientific articles because it's just difficult. But another thing you want to do is choose the best word. And my favorite saying is the difference between the almost right word and the right word is the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. Mark Twain was really right on when he said that. A lightning word is one that is vivid, engaging, thrifty. It really grabs the reader. Crafty readable sentences. You live in a culture that does not value crafting readable sentences. And it's tough to live in that culture and try to do simple decorative sentences. And this is a study, this is some decades old, but it's a useful study. These scientists found a positive correlation between the prestige of 10 management journals and the reading difficulty. They said, this is weird. The more difficult they read, the more prestigious they are. Well, maybe there's some experiment we can do. So they asked faculty members to rate the prestige of so-called passages from management journals, but they weren't real passages. They held the content constant and they varied the readability. And they found the passages that were more difficult to read were rated higher in research competence. So recognize that you work in a culture that says, well, if I have lousy ideas, if I write them in a very complicated way, they'll get more prestige. So it's tough to live in that culture. It's tough to deal with that culture. So, okay. Now let's talk about sentences. You'll all get this sentence, right? Studies have shown if you use 8-word sentences, 100% of your audience is willing to get them, your readers will get them right away. 15-word sentences, 90%, 28-word sentences, half of your audience will not be able to read them on first reading. They'll have to stop and go back and rethink them. 43-word sentences, 10% of your audience will get them for the first time. And I'm not talking about people who can't read well. I'm talking about good readers. So that means that if you're writing for a lay audience and you're using 43-word sentences, they're going to put the piece down and walk away. Read this sentence. Don't read this sentence. The point that I'm making with this sentence is this is one sentence, and it was published in a prominent scientific journal. And my point is that when you have a scientific article and you send it to an editor at a scientific journal, they are not going to edit for readability. They're going to let sentences like this go right through. So it's up to you to check the readability of your text. This is a lot of text in the next slide, and it's worth it. Okay. When you're writing, write music. That wasn't my text before that. This is writing instructor Gary Provost, and I apologize for putting all that text on the screen. But my point is, you're thinking about the words you use, you're thinking about the sentence structure you use, but you're thinking about the rhythm. You're thinking about how it sings to the mind. And so I pay attention to that when I'm writing too. How is the mind going to take it? You also want to write hammock sentences. Hammock sentences depend on the fact that the reader is more interested in what you're saying at the beginning of a sentence and the end of a sentence. Put your subject and verb close together. I'm not sure which of these guys is the subject and which is the verb. Okay? You use acronyms, of course you define them at the beginning of your piece, but periodically down in the piece, redefine them or use other words beside the acronym. If you only use an acronym once, you don't need it. It's useless. It's just put there for your own edification.